Hey everyone, it's Renata. And it just so happened that last week I worked with several people who had pretty significant traumas in their lives, and I've noticed several things, and I wanted really to address those because there's such a huge misconception, I cannot even talk today, about how we deal with traumas. And when I say significant, I'm talking about sexual abuse, assaults like rape, molestation, and we cleared a few last week. And number one thing that I've noticed is people who've gone through that crap, oftentimes they don't want to forget. They come to me and tell me like, do something, but I don't want to forget those events because I want them to remind me that I need to be cautious, that I need to protect myself, that I need to look out for something bad or some behaviors and stuff. And I'm not against that you need to be safe, but this misconception that I'm talking about is more about I don't want to forget because I want to stay in that memory and I want to bring myself into the past every single time, every moment I'm living today. And roughly it's just translated, I want to be miserable all the time. And that's not what I want for you guys, because I know what it means to be miserable and live in the past all the time. That's not what happens when we treat trauma, okay? And let me tell you, I often talk about emotional detachment. I'm saying, expressing myself like, you gotta detach emotionally from whatever happened. And let me tell you exactly what that means. Emotional detaching means that you're neutralizing whatever event you're stuck with, or whatever event you remember or you've gone through and so on. So detaching means that you're simply gonna remember it. Your memory is not gonna be deleted, you will remember it, but it will not bring any kind of emotions with that. Basically, you're gonna be looking at the event like this pen, and it's not gonna create any emotions inside of you, and I mean emotions that were created at that particular event. You will have the perception, you will have your opinion about something, right? But it will not be a memory. The memory is going to be neutralized. And when memory is neutralized, we simply clear the emotional attachment, we clear that association with that event. I hope that makes sense. So comment below wherever you're watching this video and tell me like, do you understand what I'm talking about? Because emotional detaching is like cutting the cord, the emotional cord to that particular event, whatever event has created, whether it's beliefs, whether it's emotions, whether it's a different perception about things, that's going to be neutralized. You're going to be looking at it like a tree standing on the street, and it's going to create zero negative emotions associated with that event. So how that attachment works actually. What we're doing, we're first of all we're getting into the subconscious mind of yours, okay? And we're checking if it still has associations with that sort of event. And 90% of the time that I notice, people would come and tell me like, oh, I overcame this, I healed, I dealt with this, I went to counseling, I talked to my friends, I talked to someone, and I did some processes, whatever they suggested, and I'm done. I'm healed. Now, if you do not go into the subconscious mind and do not detach at that level, I can guarantee you that there is at least a portion of that attachment left inside of you. How do I know? I've tested people. Those who told me like, oh, I'm done, I healed, and I know that they did not do any subconscious level work, they test weak. And testing weak means that there is attachment still active in you. So every time something happens, and it could be unrelated, totally unrelated to whatever happened in your past, to that event, there will be some trigger that will evoke certain emotions inside of you. It may evoke certain behaviors inside of you that you totally unexpect to be present. And only when they trigger you, you will know that it's still active. There's no other way. Unless you test it at the subconscious level and talk to your subconscious, superconscious, and know if it's healed or not, if it's detached or not, there is no other way until you get to the trigger. Okay? So that's a really important part, to know that it's still active. And even if you did counseling, okay, and I've gone through most of the steps, I've tried tons of modalities on my own, and I could not find a single one technique or modality, whatever you want to call it, that would treat the whole thing, events or beliefs or emotions at all levels. So what I'm using personally, I'm using a blend of techniques and that I've created on the top of what I learned from my own experience. And I found that this thing heals pretty fast. I actually had someone sitting on my couch last week, and we went from really huge, I want to say, pretty big attachment to basically nothing in literally a couple of minutes. So we neutralized that memory, so there was no association to that particular assault, and the person couldn't even get into the emotional state of whatever happened in the past. And I just love those moments. Honestly, I do, because this shows that it's done. And now you're ready to heal and move on with your life. Well, basically, what we're doing is we're asking our autopilot, that subconscious mind that's running inside of us, right, every single day. And we're asking it to go to that specific event, and we're asking to pick out the beliefs and the emotions and whatever else was created at that particular moment that we still have living in the present and active, and we ask it to neutralize. So it goes to every single belief that was created, whether it's like, I'm not good enough, or I'm not worthy, because, or emotions of shame and guilt, because a lot of people feel those and they're afraid to talk about them. I've talked to a person last week also that was carrying the molestation crap for like 40 years. And I had friends who've gone through those things. It's just at that particular time, a few years ago, I didn't know how to help them. Today I do. And it's so great to see those results in those people. So we treat each emotion and neutralize it. So if you feel shame, guilt about that particular, let's say, assault or abuse, it's neutralized and you don't feel that anymore. So guess what that does to your thinking? You're not thinking about that as much anymore. Your monkey mind is shutting down because it doesn't need to go back and forth to that event, because your brain is designed to protect you from any kind of danger or perceived danger as it thinks, right? So your thinking changes because you're opening a new door and you've closed the old door that no longer serves you. Make sense? So please remember, unless you actually test it at the subconscious level about the specific event and attachment to it, you do not really know if you've gone through or not. I personally thought that I've dealt with my crap a long time ago, and 20 years later, whenever I was in totally different kind of situation, circumstance, it just triggered me like that. And then I'm like, what the heck? That's how you find out sometimes. So you either test or it triggers you, okay? And please don't think that you need to forget about those things. That, well, I have to rephrase it, that you need to remember those and live with those every single day so you don't make a mistake or you don't end up in the same situation again. Okay? You do not need to bring yourself back every single time you go somewhere, or you don't need to go to that memory lane that's not so pleasant and you don't want to remember. Because I'm watching people that I'm trying to ask, like, can you go into that event and just for a second see how you feel there? They're shaking sometimes and it's not fun, and thank God I don't need to ask them to stay there. It's just like literally seconds. But I don't want you to suffer. You don't need to suffer. We can treat those and just move on. So please remember, you don't need to remind yourself of those. You don't need those reminders. There are better ways to do that and to heal. Okay? So I hope that cleared some stuff for you, and I hope you enjoyed the video. And let me know if you have any questions or if you need any help with healing traumas. Okay? And I'll see you next time. Bye.